Up next, we have the founder of Veryable, Mike Kinder.
Okay, who wants to talk about manufacturing for the next 5 minutes? All right. So I'm Mike Kinder, the founder of Veryable. So what is Veryable? Veryable is an on-demand labor platform for manufacturing and distribution. So we're going after a very real problem in the economy right now. And I can tell you, after a career built so far in manufacturing, there is no better place for the sharing economy than manufacturing. So what businesses are dealing with right now is the inability to scale. And there's really no way to do that with labor. At the same time, the administrative costs are really high around labor. There's also many challenges around product cost, right? On the labor side, there is a lack of flexibility. Workers today demand more flexibility. They also are looking for higher wages naturally and more opportunity. So really, we're going after the manufacturing holy grail here, and that is infinite flexible capacity. And if I leave one thing with you today, it is that this is a market-backed solution. This is designed based on our experience in manufacturing and based on what manufacturers actually need. So first off, before I go any further, if you've never worked in manufacturing before, you might think that it looks like this, a bunch of robots standing around doing everybody's job. But I can tell you that's not the case, right? 99% of manufacturing looks like this. It's labor, it is people standing around looking for parts, trying to find parts, inspecting, so on and so forth. So labor is still a very big issue in manufacturing. And these guys are all dealing with these classic challenges that have been around for a long time. This is missed revenue, lost productivity, because demand is always uncertain and very volatile. So these guys typically plan labor on a quarterly basis. If your product lead times are 1 day, 1 week, you understand how that can be a problem if your labor doesn't change over the course of 3 months. So you're constantly facing this missed revenue and lost productivity. And if that's the case, you're not ever going to be able to grow your business because you can't chase these demand swings, right? Every manufacturer also talks about the access to skilled labor. They can't find it. At the same time, you hear the workforce talk about where are the jobs. So there's a massive structural problem in the blue-collar labor market. At the same time, manufacturers are always feeling cost pressure from low-cost region. So somebody's always doing it cheaper in China, India, Mexico. So anybody in a high-cost region needs a new labor paradigm, and that's what we're going after. So I'm not going to really touch on the emerging challenges, but what I can tell you is that our solution is really thinking down the road, 5, 10, 20 years, what does labor need to look like for manufacturing in high-cost region? So what does the product look like? We are a marketplace for on-demand labor. So what we provide is apps for our operators, so people that are working in plants or looking to work in plants, and then a web interface for businesses. So businesses go in, they post ops, that's our work for the discrete work opportunities. They post out to the network, they hit everybody's phones, then people opt into the work based on their work preference, location, and so on and so forth. So in detail, just a little more color around what this looks like. What we're going after on the user side is really like a blue-collar LinkedIn, right? And it's based on actual performance. So these guys go in, they do work. After they're done, the companies rate them so that they actually have real evidence that they've done good work. This doesn't exist for blue-collar labor right now. Nobody's on LinkedIn if they're working in a factory. And at the same time, their resumes are meaningless unless you have a good idea for how the work was performed. And then the companies our dashboard is set up so that it's very user-friendly for manufacturing companies. They can go in, they can see their dashboard, see what work is queued up today, throughout the week, and click into every individual operator that's trying to bid on their work. So they have a visibility into, this guy here that's got 5 stars, he's got skills around machining, assembly, warehousing, etc. You can view and see what his certifications are. So about traction, right now we've been live in the Metroplex for about a month and a half. And we've got 400 operators in the Metroplex already signed up, active, ready to do some work on demand. We've got 12 businesses signed up already in month one. We're represented across many different sectors: consumer products, aerospace, automotive, very well represented there. We've got very diverse operator personas, so people that are looking for gigs, but also people that are looking for full-time work. I mean, at the end of the day, we're trying to create labor pools. That was my own timer. So then just on the right side, so I'm already penalizing myself. Last point, just on the right side, this is what we mean by labor pools. This is how it's set up. The stars are the companies, and so on. Thank you.
What's the differentiation between your app and Alibaba or Banggood? Like, how does it differentiate in terms of manufacturing? Because someone could outsource it somewhere else, but how does it create that user acquisition, and how does it vary from them?
Yeah, can you rephrase? What did you mention? Which?
So how does your app work, differentiation from Alibaba and Banggood? Because Banggood do provide those services in terms of manufacturing, so you can outsource it. So how does it compete compared to, let's say, Banggood or Alibaba.com?
Mangood.
Yeah.
Okay, this is one I'm familiar with. They do manufacturing on-demand labor? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so the ones I'm familiar with, Shift Gig, if you ever heard of that, right? So what this is, I mean, the differentiation, I don't know, I'll have to look into that. But I mean, what we're going after here is really finite work, all the way from very finite, so just a single task, all the way to multi-day. But to answer that specific question, I'd have to look into it.
Right here. Right here.
Yeah.
So, as I'm aware of, aren't a lot of manufacturing jobs controlled by labor unions? And if so,
less than 10%.
It's less than 10%. All right, fair enough.
And not in less than about 2% in the South. It's mostly in the Midwest and the Northeast and the West Coast.
Sorry, one more quick here. So I don't know much about manufacturing, but I would think that there's probably some strict safety guidelines and things like that, a lot of training for safety. How do you deal with that when bringing on new people on a regular basis, you have to train them every time? Doesn't that add a lot of strain to the business itself?
Really good question. And yes and no. And it depends on the environment. You know, like the picture you saw, as it relates to safety, probably minimal hazard. You know, if it is light manufacturing, and really what we're going after is mostly light manufacturing. It's mostly discrete manufacturing on a kind of a per company basis. That's the most. So yes, in the short term, it's the burden's on the company, right, to say we have safety policies. And anybody in our facility, whether you're a temp labor, whether you're full-time labor, whether you're a visitor, you have to abide by those safety policies. So it's really not too different than what they do today. Now, what I can tell you in the future, and this is where it gets really exciting in the digital manufacturing environment, is when you talk about RFID attached to people's badges and being able to automatically shut equipment down when somebody passes thresholds, this is all becoming a very real technology in the manufacturing environment in most medium-sized, large, mature companies. So a lot of this stuff is going to be part of the infrastructure going forward, as well as a lot of the other operational intelligence. So as that becomes more profound, on-demand labor is going to be more significant in that market.
Are you working on any logistics for hospital in the PRN workforce? I mean, do you have any foresight to target that market? I have a physician friend who wanted to Uberize the PRN situation with hospitals because...
Yeah, you'll have to indulge me. What is PRN?
Oh, PRN, sorry, as needed. I mean, these are like part-time nurses.
Okay.
And so when they need somebody to cover shifts, I mean, they have a big workforce situation where they're constantly pulling people in and out.
Yeah, I think when you think about the concentric circles around the core that we've established in manufacturing and logistics, there's going to be a lot of opportunity to expand horizontally, as we call it. Have we made any decisions on that, built a roadmap around it? No, but it's a good idea. And I'll tell you, the first things that come to mind are things like manufacturing, engineering, construction, some other sectors like that are pretty close to core. But
you mentioned that, I'm right in front of you. You mentioned that you're looking at the labor market kind of 10, 15, 20 years in the future. Well, trends are showing that there's a decrease in manufacturing job opportunities, and also that, that 1% that you showed is going to increase as we go forward in the future. So how are you going to protect yourself and keep a sustainable model and connect those people if there are going to be lower opportunities in the future?
Yeah, so I challenge that. There's a lot of emerging technology in manufacturing right now. I'll say the one that manufacturers are least interested in is robots. It's not manufacturers driving this dialogue. This is coming from the manufacturers of the robots that are trying to sell them, right? Because the value prop is hard to justify. I mean, you take a guy who's making $30,000 and you want to replace him with an expensive robot and a developer behind that, it's a long payback period. So the days of robots taking all of our jobs, this is a lot of hype, not a lot of reality. The technology is there, but the business case isn't. What manufacturers are really excited about is the connected factory and the IoT and the operational intelligence engine behind it. So didn't quite get to the answer. Apologize.
Appreciate it.